So when compromise kills the gospel, Galatians 2:5. And friends, compromise can sometimes be a very good thing. Businesses compromise all the time when they are trying to strike a deal or, to make something happen for a customer even. They do that in hopes that the truth will benefit both parties. But when it comes to the gospel, compromise is something that is a non-negotiable. We cannot negotiate with false teaching. Some countries have a policy that says they cannot negotiate with terrorists. And you can debate the good or bad of that, but the reality is that the gospel, its truth, its value, its implications, its everything cannot be compromised. There are things in the Christian life which can be, you agree on that, I agree on this. That is fine. Those are issues. What are those? Well, color the carpet. Been in churches where that's been a gospel issue. You could talk about the end times. Is this end times view right, or is that end times view right? We'll have all our theology straightened out about the end times when we get to heaven or Jesus returns. Trust me. That's why there was silence in heaven in Revelation 8. But the bottom line is that no matter how you slice it, we have to hold fast the truth of the gospel wherever we go and whatever we do. So as things go, Paul is now in Galatians 2:5. And why compromise kills the gospel? We are in Galatians 2. My name is Darren, and this is Line by Line Bible, where we teach you to study the Bible with clarity, confidence, and courage. And so we're just going through as I drive to work. Different car today, so a little bit different angle. But Galatians 2:5 says, to them we do not yield. He's speaking about false teachers. And to the false teachers we do not yield in submission even for a moment, so that the truth of the gospel might be preserved for you. The big idea is that standing firm today in truth protects faith tomorrow. Standing firm in the truth today protects faith tomorrow. And I think that's an important thing. Paul's decision, the early church's decision, anyone who carried the gospel's decision not to compromise for sake of peace or unity or whatever the name of, led to, by God's sovereign grace, the ability for people to move forward with and hear the gospel. If I'm a Christian because someone passed it on to me, and so it is with them. And so first, I want to just give you three things here. First, I want you to know that conviction is costly, but it's worth it. Conviction is costly, but it's worth it. Did you notice what Paul said? He said, to them, we do not yield in submission even for a moment. Even for a moment. Paul did not want temporary peace. Paul did not care about a ceasefire when it came to eternal things. When conviction is costly, friends, it will cost you. I have lived through this. Others have lived through this. It could be a job. It could be relationships. It could be your name. It could be your safety of your family. It could be 1,000 things that come in the context you're in. But I want you to know that if it is costly because it costs God his dear son's death on the cross. And so it was so costly that he was not willing, Christ was not, the Father was not, the Spirit was not, the triune God was not willing to compromise even for a moment. And that's why Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 16:13. He says, be watchful and stand firm in the faith. Be watchful and stand firm in the faith. That's why Paul says here in Galatians 2:5, he won't compromise. He didn't even yield even for a moment. Paul said, look, didn't even cross my mind. I'm sure at times there were moments for Paul when he thought, as a human, sinfully, as we all have, if I just allow this little thing, if I just give in a little here, everybody will be happy and we can go back to spreading the gospel. Well, that's just it. Once you set that precedent, like most things in life, it becomes a slippery slope. And so for Paul, the slippery slope was not just the gospel, it was the witness that would last. And so it was costly, yes, but it was also something that he had opportunity to continue to do good with as time went on. Second thing I want you to see out of all this is that compromise always erodes conviction. Compromise always erodes and corrodes conviction. And so that is why he says that even for a moment, friends, the reality is a soft gospel cannot convict hard hearts. In America, we have become, over the last century and a half perhaps, the largest missions sending organization in the world, or country in the world. And oftentimes when we've sent people out with the message of Jesus, it has come with a very soft conviction on the things of the gospel. In order to get people to raise their hand, pray a prayer, become a statistic in a blog post or social media content or a Baptist paper or whatever, we have compromised the gospel. We've softened it. Friends, and let me be clear, Jesus loves us, for God so loved the world, but there are some hard truths that come when you know the gospel. And this is again why Paul says his whole thesis of this book is Galatians 1:10. If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. So the bottom line is, compromise always corrodes conviction. If you compromise on the basics of the gospel to please somebody else, you're going to be in trouble. You know, back in my undergraduate days at the institution I was going to, it was a institution affiliated with a major denomination, and that denomination was conservative by nature, but there were some that were part of it that broke away, that would consider themselves more liberal in their theology. Well, over the years, there became this thought that every religion at this school, that every religion basically had the same truth as Christianity. That is, that eternally, they said, that everyone was going up the same path of the mountain, or that, to put it another way, that all roads led to Rome, in these old phrases. And friends, that could not be further from the truth. And the truth is that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and there is no one that cometh to the Father except through him or through me. And so, no, there's no other way to get to heaven except through Christ. But this group would often say, if you would just stop being mean, if you'd stop being narrow-minded, if you stop being bigoted. And so many friends of mine who grew up in a Bible-believing home, who knew the truth, compromised their faith, and it corroded them. And so some of them have shown forth, sadly, over the years, that really there was no fruit in their lives. It was just a religious thing. But others, though they bit into that rotten fruit, that was that false truth, they've come back stronger in their faith. So friend, just be careful. Compromise always corrodes conviction. Doesn't mean you have to be a Pharisee. Doesn't mean you got to be a stick in the mud. But you need a backbone with compassion when it comes to not compromising the gospel itself. Last thing is this, is that truth must be preserved, not updated. Truth must be preserved, not updated. Did you notice what Paul said there? He said that the gospel might be preserved for you. You know, that's the whole purpose of this. Paul wasn't just standing for himself. He was standing that the gospel would be preserved. You guard the gospel so the others can receive it purely. And that's the truth of it. And 2 Timothy 1:14 says, we guard the good deposit entrusted to you. That's what Paul told Timothy. What's the good deposit? The good deposit is the gospel itself. And so, friend, your courage today could shape someone else's salvation tomorrow. Look, you don't save anybody. I don't save anybody. But the reality is God does the saving, but we have to have the right message. Isn't this a great little book, Galatians? I know that as a teacher of the Bible for many years, it's easier to go through in chunks, but I think there's something to be said about going through devotionally and doctrinally and just really looking at what it is to know this truth. So that's it. If you'd like to know more about how to study the Bible, I've put together 50 free tips. You can go to the comment section and just type in tips, TIPS, and I'll be glad to send that over to you. Till next time, guys, we'll see you then. Again, this is Darren from Line by Line Bible, encouraging you to study the Bible with courage, confidence, and conviction. And I just want to remind you, as we always close, that Jesus loves you.